Now, I have a few games in my backlog to investigate, but sometimes I notice ones and I just have to give them a shot on a whim. Tonight's topic is one of those special cases. It is a very captivating art style with gameplay and characters to match. Good evening! My name is Sin, and welcome to Horror and Chill, the lovely online web series where I talk about a horror-related topic and the vibes are chill. Tonight's topic? Dead Plane. Dead Plane is a free game on itch.io created by Rachel Draws This. Released on November 6, 2023, this RPG Maker game has visual novel and point-and-click aspects. The game has a very unique and eye-catching art style, along with a new kind of game narrative I've yet to see done this way. You play as Rhodey, a charming, albeit very all-or-nothing guy. He's got a messy apartment, but he's doing his best for his job. He has a server position at a bistro that is not sketchy at all. Vincent, the owner of said bistro, seems to be vaguely fascinated and also annoyed by Rhodey. The game is very simple in its gameplay. You take an order, put the order at the marker, and serve the customers their orders. I found it to be quite fun. The game even has built-in additions that can help you, like speed, more patience, more time on the shift. It's all very well thought out, and while you can only equip one of these trinkets, it makes the experience all the more important to you to actually pay attention and manage things. As you go through each day, you can talk to Vince, witness new events, and unfurl the story of Rhodey and Vince. Their dynamic itself is something I adore picking at. There's a ton of hype around Vince and Rhodey, it seems from the actual artist himself and fans for the game. The visual novel and point-and-click aspects are incredibly enjoyable for the game and tie everything together. As someone who is just a little familiar with RPG Maker, I was kinda impressed at how they got some of these things to work. You couldn't even ask me how to code an entire little catalog in RPG Maker. It's incredibly cool though. Rhodey is working his hardest to earn money in the aspect of gaining favor with his ex-girlfriend Menon. As we learn through the game, Rhodey is incredibly persistent with his devotion to her, even after their breakup, though he does appear to be a little socially reserved and hesitant in his interactions with Vince. He feels a little rough around the edges, but it gives him sort of this sweet charm. One of the days, he bikes quickly in the rain, thinking it could dry him faster, though of course it only drenched him in water. And that sort of roughness and unfamiliarity with formality is something I resonate highly with. I personally grew up a little more on the rough side of things, so when it comes to being very formal, I tend to be confused, to say the least. Rhodey, being this adult who seems mildly unsure of how he should behave, feels comforting. It makes for him to be a very fun main character to play. Dude literally has over 28 service jobs in the past 7 years and still can't do his own dishes. I applaud you, good sir. During Dead Play, you get to unfold this very fascinating story, and I will be talking about that today. I suggest if you wish to play the game and experience the story for yourself, you do so now. It only takes about 20 to 30 minutes to unlock an ending, and there are 4 total. Throughout these endings, you can learn far more about our 3 main little characters that are important to the story. Manon, Rhodey's girlfriend, broke up with him because of his self-sacrificial nature towards her. While she is someone who is more materialistic, she still loves Rhodey, and the lack of money isn't a deal breaker. It's the fact he's actively sabotaging himself and pushing himself only for her and not for his own growth as a person. Manon, then sometime later on, seems to take a passing interest in Vincent. Vince is gay, so he was going to pay her no mind at all, but when she mentioned Rhodey, apparently that is where he decided to actually pay attention. Vince is a fascinating character in his own story. He's a successful chef, but he has no sense of taste, something he lost when he was younger. Something within himself seems to set itself on Rhodey as his prime target, and Menon was only part of something much bigger. As you play through the days, sometimes Rhodey will have these nightmares, abstract moments in which he finds himself in horrific scenarios, like finding he has been marked like an animal to be slaughtered and seeing knives all around him, or finding himself trapped in a package, or even seeing Vince himself stabbing into him with a fork. Dangerous foreshadowing as you go through the game, and I live for it. These kind of subtle but fascinating horror aspects are a fun way to instill fear into the player about the danger that awaits them. Going through the days, talking to Vince, you learn small things, like his favorite food is lemons since the bitter sensation on his tongue vaguely resembles taste, or that he will gladly hold someone's face over a stove to prove a point. Casual things like that. Now, as I've said before, there are 4 different endings, and they all seem to have different ways of going. The first one that I got was simply table for 1. Rhodey quits the bistro, though Vince is visibly confused by it. You see Rhodey go to a payphone, and if you did absolutely no digging, you could be confused as to what he's doing. He calls Manon over and over, asking her to go on a date with him, or just to call him. He just wants to hear her. How she hasn't picked up in the past week. Alas, he gets nothing. The phone just gives him the same message and ends with goodbye. The piece of food you get for the ending is called a grilled hanger steak. And, yeah, it's made of Manon. I actually did a teensy bit of digging and looking at the artist's works and such. I love Manon. She's such a little, creature. Rhodey, Vince, and Manon have wonderful personalities, and I'm glad they were able to capture that in the game. Continuing with the endings, one of the endings involves Vince really leaning into this whole murderous side of himself, tying Rhodey up and even trying to play up the scenario, giving him a 15-second head start to escape. It's just enough to let you crawl to the door, but it's not enough. Vince drags him away and presumably kills him. While in another ending, Rhodey is able to free himself from the rope with matches, and ends up finding a dead plate of grilled hanger steak. Vince finds Rhodey, the two stare for a moment, and Vince lunges at him, biting off his ear and leading to the two having an entire scene. They run circles around each other, and then only one of 2 things can happen. Since Vince had a corkscrew in his hand, it had to come from somewhere, to which you can go to his office and get the broken wine bottle. If you do, you can use it on Vince and injure him. Rhodey then gets olive oil and throws it down beside Vince, and he sets the entire bistro and Vince's apartment in a blaze. Or if you fail to talk to Vince, he'll attack Rhodey, and Rhodey will become his meal. Vince tries to use Rhodey as a way to regain his taste, as he didn't understand what people meant by putting love into their cooking until he met Rhodey, under some strange idea that this could bring back his taste. It doesn't, and now he has to grapple with the fact that he has killed 2 innocent people. And this game is just delicious. The art style, the story, and the cute gameplay of just being a server in a totally normal bistro. It's a captivating game, and I really hope that the studio continues to make stories. Maybe with new characters, maybe with the same. One of my favorite things in the game has to be the shift ending screen. It gives me the feeling of those old intermissions in anime where they would show a random shot of food or the characters. I don't know why, but it reminded me of specifically Black Butler's intermissions. Maybe I'm just crazy. If you have an interest to play just a cute little game, I heavily suggest Deadplate. It's got an appealing art style, the characters are investing and fun, and a very interesting game loop. Of course, it's a little finicky, but for an RPG Maker game that goes out of its way to just be a little more than that, I give it a pass. If you have any games or things you'd like for me to talk about, please let me know. My name is Sin, this is Horror and Chill. Please take care of yourself, drink water, and good night.